Hi, you are watching one of the episodes with the event speakers in the Cowork Progressbar, and today's guest is the Clément from the Kleros, and we'll be talking about his project called the Kleros, where he's actually CTO. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So can you introduce us shortly? What is the project about, Kleros? You actually hosted the great presentation in our space, so tell us more.
Thank you. So Kleros, it's a decentralized court to arbitrate smart contracts. So smart contracts, they can only enforce rules that they can compute. So they can say, we exchange this asset for this other asset. That's fine, they can say into a smart contract. But as soon as you want to interact with the outside world, if you want to pay someone after he has done a task, the smart contract have no clue whether the task was done or not. So for that, you need arbitration.
Okay.
And that's what Kleros is providing.
Okay. And now, aside from project, how did you get to the Kleros? You've been involved into some Ethereum community, or?
Oh yeah, so I've been in crypto since 2013.
Okay.
When I was a student, my student job, let's say that way, was selling stuff on local Bitcoin.
Okay, that's nice. So actually you know the Ether project, right?
Ether, yeah, of course okay. we know Ether.
Okay, so and today you show us the Kleros, and I would like to ask you, how do you solve the things like the disputes, the selections, and enforcements in the Kleros projects? Actually, it should supposed to be one of the applications part of the TCRs, if I'm right. And what are actually that right use case for the Kleros?
Yeah, so people speak about TCR, about oracles. Surprisingly, they don't speak about escrow that much. Okay. But we don't focus on one specific case. We just say that's dispute resolution. Okay. Like in a TCR, you have, does this item belong to the list? Yes, okay. No.
Yes, no.
Or in the escrow is, did Trump win the presidential election? Yes, no. Okay. And if people do not agree on it, that's a dispute. Okay. Dispute is every time where you have multiple party wanting to have a smart contract executing in different manners. When they don't agree on the execution of the smart contract, you have a dispute. And so we are creating dispute resolution system, which are for multi-application, not a specific one. Okay,
and you just show us on presentation today that you could submit some very my own token, right? And some, if it's not challenged, is actually accepted for the registry, right?
Yeah, so what you've seen is an arbitrable DApp. So you have Kleros, which is an arbitrator DApp. It's giving ruling. Then you have an arbitrable DApp, in this case of today, which is the token created registry, who can enforce the ruling. So in this case, when a ruling is given, which I accept this token, there's going to be make the challenger lose the deposit, use the deposit to pay the submitter, and add the token to the list. That will be the ruling enforcement. But the ruling enforcement is not really decided by Kleros. Kleros just gives a ruling, and then the DApp can choose what to do with it. So it can be moving some money, adding item to a list, returning some value in case of Oracle. It can be pretty much whatever you want.
Okay, so actually, and what are your now working integrations? Actually, I've seen there is the ED right?
So, that's not working. That's already. That's not already the work. That's already there.
It's already there. Okay, perfect.
Which is the Edfinex badge. So we have this token created registry, which is a list of tokens with their name, their ticker, their logo, and their address. And the primary goal is to avoid people selling fake tokens, because we got some people, they make a token, they call it PNK, and they sold it to people they don't sell that much, but still $500 worth of fake PNK. That's not nice. So it was where we got the first idea of this token created registry. And on the top of that, we have badges. So if you want to add a badge to a token, you certify that this token is satisfying those criterions. So with Edfinex, they only want to list tokens satisfying some criterions. So as a project, you put your deposit stating my token satisfies those criterion, and if some people do not agree, they can challenge it. And they can challenge it because they don't want to have your token added, or because they want to get money by getting part of the deposit that you're going to lose.
Okay, I have right now of the notes the very amateur questions. How this does differentiate from the Augur reputation tokens, right? Isn't it the same mechanism?
So I think Augur is a project which is the most similar to Kleros.
Okay.
Because we are both inspired heavily by Trustcoin. Trustcoin is a project of a prediction market on Bitcoin or its own chain. I don't really know where it is now, which has been in the work, I think even in 2013, 2014. I think it started a long time ago. It was never really went live, but the ideas of Trustcoin were super interesting and taken by both Augur and Kleros, where Augur kind of mixed Trustcoin ideas with the ultimate oracle IDs, where you stake and you have to double your stake all the time. And we modify the Trustcoin IDs to make it scalable. So in the Trustcoin, you ask everyone to vote on everything, and the answer to scalability is if people have to vote on too much stuff, divide the quotes. But then you end up with a lot of different dispute resolution systems, which can be quite small, and being small means that you are not resistant to attacks, because 15% attacks are easier on smaller systems than one large one with multiple use cases. So I think that the innovation compared to Trustcoin, well, in addition to actually developing it, because Trustcoin is quite slow to develop because it's not on Ethereum, and so they cannot take all this work which is done at the smart contract layer of Ethereum, and they have to redo everything themselves. And both Kleros and Augur, we were able to release way faster by taking advantage of Ethereum and having a lot of the contract logic abstracted by Solidity.
Okay, and what do you think about the forecast and prediction markets, at all, including Kleros? Where do you see it in next half year, next year, or something like that?
Well, prediction market, I think it's a good first use case, let's say, because that's something which tend to be quite frowned upon by government, which means that centralized prediction market actor will have a lot of trouble. So you don't have that much competition if you're making a prediction market, and that's really a use case where being censorship resistant is important. I think at the beginning that's gonna go well in terms of user, because that's betting, and betting, people love to bet on everything.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's not really what's interesting with prediction markets. What's interesting with prediction market is to get information.
Definitely.
So you want to know what kind of crop you want to plant, and depending of what the weather will be this year, you may want to plant a specific type of crop. So you can create a prediction market and see what weather is predicted, and depending on the weather which is predicted, you get information inside on how to plant those crops for the maximum yield. Or you can use it for insurance. Again, that's again the crop example. You are a farmer and you want to be protected if you have bad weather, which means that your crop won't grow. So to avoid that, you're gonna bet that the weather will be bad, and if the weather is good, well, good, you have your crops, you have your income from the crop, and if the weather is bad, you have the income from this bet, which is a way to make an insurance out of this prediction market. So prediction market, for now, I say that's used for betting, but the real use case for humanity is to get better information and to make those kind of insurance systems.
Okay. And do you think it's somehow possible to game the tokens on the Kleros against other forecast markets, arbitrage between other prediction markets?
What do you mean game?
No, you mean you have bookies in the A and bookies in the B, and you try to change the odds or something like that. Do we try the...
You mean misreporting oracle results?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a potential attack, which would be to attack the dispute resolution system.
Okay, I think I just read it in your white paper. You have like this called bribe resistance, right?
Oh yeah, so about bribes,
Or,
yeah.
or is it the same or not?
Yeah, so bribe resistance is to avoid people to be able to tamper with the ruling, to incentivize people to vote in a certain manner, even if it's not the truth. Like everyone knows that Trump has been elected, but someone who have bet on a prediction market that Hillary would have some incentive to have the oracle respond that Hillary was elected even if she was not. So people are gonna try to game the system, and we cannot assume that people are gonna just play by the rule, and that's true in most of the system, but even more true in blockchain system where people can be anonymous. So there is little reputational consequences of misbehaving in the system. So since we cannot have those reputational consequences, we need to have economical consequences for people misbehaving. So people which we would take bribe need to be punished economically, and in this case that's losing token if they vote differently to the majority, and if even the whole majority get bribed, the punishment is that the system is not trustworthy anymore. So you end up sitting on tons of useless tokens that are not gonna let you being drawn in dispute and get arbitration fees anymore.
Okay, so actually you just ahead of my question, like how disputes works in the Kleros, right? So because that was like my next question, the disputes, how it works actually, and how the bribe resistance, what is it?
Yeah, so Kleros is a staking system. So you want to be a juror, you stake some token, you get some chance of being drawn, which is proportional to the amount of token you stake.
Okay.
And once you vote, if you vote the same as the majority, you get paid in ETH, and eventually also in PNK if some of the people lose some of their token too.
Okay, can you tell us more about your token, PNK? Like what is it? Okay.
So this is the staking token to be drawn as a juror. I think it's quite interesting token model, and I say most of the token model tend to be boring and useless, that they just made to raise some money. Let's be honest. So I think tokens are interesting if they fulfill the Mike's crypto system manifesto. So do they provide some public utility? So are they leading a useful system? Would any other token make the system work better than this token? And in most of the cases, like all the payment token, just using ETH or DAI would make it work better. Okay. And is the system capable of functioning without its creators? So I'd say that PNK fulfill for now two of those three criterions, because if you were to use ETH, you have less economic resistance to attacks, because if you manage an attack with a system similar to Kleros but with ETH, you end up on a pile of ETH, and so you haven't lost your stake despite destroying the system. While if you have a specific token, if your attack succeed, you lost all your stake in token because now you have worthless token. And on the third one, which I say not now because for now the Kleros team is still heavily involved in how to make system upgrades, and that's going to be moved to governance. And once it's moved to governance to govern for system upgrades, we're going to fulfill those criteria of my crypto system manifesto. And at this point, like, we can all die, and it should, well, we should not die, but if we would, it should continue working with us. And that's the end goal when you made the systems.
And my very last questions came to my mind. What do you think about the so-called last mile adoption? And it somehow connected my mind with the user experience of the dApps. It's a very hard question.
Yeah, so if you've seen the first Kleros, the zero Kleros dApp, it was just made during the hackathon and had no graphical interface, and you did everything on the command line. Then you got the first Kleros dApp, which was released 2 weeks after the sale, and it was working, but loading time were quite long. You had some time to open one window and go take some coffee and come back. So now all of that has been improved a lot. But even with all those improvements,
can you tell us maybe in detail how did you improve that? What did you like for the stack or something like? What did you?
I won't be able to give you all the detail because it's mostly front end, and I'm not developing the front end. Okay. So you're gonna have to ask other people on the.
I just think that you are using.
But basically, with some caching and only looking at events which can have happened during this particular period of time. Like there is a few tricks to optimize time of dApps loading.
So actually, not trying to touch the smart contracts.
Oh no! So smart contracts are not the reason that dApps can take time to load and execute.
Like I've seen you are using your ips.kleros.io and it's like running through the Infura or some other provider, or how it's made.
So we have you mean IPFS?
Yeah, like
so most of the data, like all the data which is required for disputes, is stored on IPFS. We run one node, but obviously other people can also run their own node.
So actually you're running your own node, right?
We are running a IPFS node, yeah.
Okay.
But other people can also run a node which can also have data which is there. So that if we go offline, other people can also still distribute the data required for the disputes.
Okay, and did you consider to use, for example, Infura?
Like all of that are quite front-end questions, so I'm not really the best place. I can try, but I'm not the best place in terms to answer those. And I don't want to say any bullshit on it. If you ask me on smart contract, I can give you way more answers.
Are you sure? So what was your biggest challenge in the smart contracts?
Well, security.
Oh, see.
So like making a smart contract which works is easy, but making a smart contract which works only when it should work and not when it shouldn't. So like,
and what is like
can Bob get the money when he has done the work? That's easy to implement. But can Bob only get the money when he has done the work? That's what is hard to implement. And so we have a lot of internal reviews. We are perhaps like 5 people reviewing every contract multiple times, and we don't stop unless everyone agrees that there is nothing else to move into this contract. And after we use crowdsourcing with bounty hunting on a bit everywhere, like Solidify, Gitcoin, posting on Reddit, posting on people who have found bounties before. And if you had all of those, you can perhaps also have like another 50 people who look at the contracts in between, like before the release. On this release, we paid for 100 ETH total of bounty, so that's still significant for bounty hunters. So like we try to have the best security possible for smart contract, and even if you cannot get to 0, but you can try to get closer possible to it.
Okay.
Like 0 security risk, I mean.
Oh, I see. So, normal question is: Did you lose some money before launching on mainnet, like on the first iteration of the Kleros? Or
what did we lose?
If you found out some very critical vulnerability in your smart contract?
Never after being launched.
Okay.
At some point, we found a vulnerability in a contract we had launched, but with other set of parameters. Like the contract was fine with the parameter we launched, but if you had used it in some other strange way, that could have been some issue. But obviously, when we reviewed the contract, we reviewed it with in mind the way we were going to launch it. So it's not really like perfect, but everything which has been launched on mainnet have not been hacked up to date. And I hope it won't be hacked ever.
And how long actually took your development phase since you actually, and at the workshop you show us the version running on the Kovan, and how long you need to have this testing period till you launched on the mainnet, the same contract or something like that, like in the time iterations, like whatever what comes in mind.
Smart contracts, they tend to be like not to rely on their user interface.
Okay.
So user interface, like it's not what's going to be useful to see if a contract is correct or not, because people can make call directly to the contract without having to go through the user interface.
Okay.
So when we look at contract security, we completely forget about the user interface.
Yes.
And so that's done in parallel. Like you develop the contract, and then in parallel you develop the interface, and you do security procedure in parallel.
Okay.
How much time did it take? Well, perhaps 4-5 months, something like that. But it took that because we have a lot of back and forth. So that's not one developer being on it for this time. It's one developer making a contract, and then another one is making a report. It goes back to the main developer, and then he shows the contract to someone else, gets a report, and it goes on back and forth
cycle,
until you have a cycle where all the 5 guys in a row say yes, 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 yes. I don't find anything more, and then we can go to bounties.
Okay, and not the questions I have. What was actually your challenges regarding this smart contract development for now, like past weeks?
So we had to for the last release,
for example.
Yeah, so we also had to add a specific data structure to be able to perform sortition efficiently. It's like sortition some tree, and sometimes we see, that's not that complicated. That's a tree to draw stuff from the tree that should have existed, but we found nothing like that in the literature. So we end up with creating our own data structure. And other challenges, that's like intricacies of Solidity, which had led to some bounty which were, in the 2 bounty which were paid, one was paid because of, I would say, like a stupid mistake, where we did not think that you could just make commitment to 0, and if you were to do that, that still counted as one commitment, and so that could pass phase even when people have not committed. So that was like one stupid mistake, and the other one was a quite complex mistake where you could overflow the memory in dev to be able to modify other variables of the contract, and that's a vulnerability which, up to my knowledge, have never been found in any live smart contract yet. So yeah, like we had both one thing really complicated and one thing which is like not thinking about this really basic input value, but obviously like it ended up well because they were found into the bounty phase.
Okay, I think I have for now. I have no more questions. So it's good luck with the Kleros, and hope I will see next releases pretty soon. So
thank you.
Okay, thank you.